Hi guys, it's Mrs. Johnson. Today your objective for your Edpuzzle video is to model and solve one variable two-step equations and inequalities, which is TEK 7.11a. Your essential question is, how do I solve a two-step equation? I want you to press pause, write down your objective and essential question, and right here I want you to write goal, and then on this side, on the right hand side, I want you to write example 1, which is negative 2x plus 9 equals 23. Alright, so I'm going to teach you how to solve this two-step equation today. So your goal is going to be to isolate the variable. Isolate the variable. What that means is, in this case, our variable is an x. That means we need to get x all by itself and figure out what it equals. So our goal is to isolate the variable. Our very first step that I want you to do and write down, so step number 1 is going to be draw a line down the equal sign. Draw a line down the equal sign, and that is literally going to look like this. Start here and draw a line straight down. This is going to help us remember that if we do something on this side, we must do the same thing on this side. Or if we do something on this side, we must do the same thing on this side. This is an equation, so this side has to be equal to this side. We have to keep it balanced. So at the bottom, I want you to write a little reminder. We're going to jump all the way down here. Put a star and write, if you do it to one side, you must do it to the other. Very important. So if you do it to one side, you must do it to the other. So this line is going to help us achieve that. Alright, so we have negative 2x plus 9 equals 23. Step 2, sorry, this should say step 1. Step 2 is going to be use inverse operations of addition or subtraction. So if we are seeing that we are adding, the inverse operation or the opposite operation would be to subtract. If we're seeing that we're subtracting, the opposite would be to add. So if we see addition, we are going to do subtraction. Or if we see subtraction, we are going to do addition. So, in our equation, I want you to circle negative 2x. Now we can see that we have a plus 9. So I see a plus 9, so I'm going to do a minus 9. I want you to write that to the side. I see addition, so I'm going to do subtraction. So plus 9 is what I see, so I'm going to do minus 9. And remember, if we do it to one side, we must do it to the other side. So I said minus 9 here, so I need to say minus 9 here. 9 minus 9 cancels out and makes a 0 pair, so that becomes 0. 23 minus 9, we need to borrow from our 2, bring our 1 here, so we have 13 minus 9 is 4. We bring our 1 down, we get 14. Now you need to rewrite the problem because this part still exists. We need to bring it here. So to keep everything nice and neat, just write it again. So we have negative 2x equals 14. Step number 3 is use inverse operations of multiplying or dividing. So use inverse operations of multiplying or dividing. And in these notes, we'll be using the multiplication sign like this little dot because we can't use an x because our x is our variable. And I don't want you to see another x and accidentally get confused when we're trying to say multiply. So this is to multiply. So if we see multiplication, we're going to do the inverse operation or the opposite of multiplying, which is to divide. If we see division, we're going to do the inverse operation or the opposite, which is to multiply. So in our equation, we have negative 2x equals 14. We know that this negative 2 next to this variable of the x like this side by side, that means they're being multiplied together. It's really negative 2 times x. So we need to do the inverse operation. We see multiplication. So to the side right that you see multiplication. So we need to do division. So I see negative 2x, which is these two being multiplied together. So I'm going to do the opposite, which is to divide. So I'm going to divide this side by 2. And if I do it to one side, I must do it to the other side. So I have to divide by 2 on this side as well. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 becomes 1. Anything, and I forgot to write the negative sign there. Let me add that. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 and 14 divided by negative 2. Okay, anything divided by itself becomes 1. So we have isolated the variable. Now we are left with x. Now we have 14 divided by negative 2. Remember your rules. If you have a positive divided by a negative, your answer is going to be negative. And then 14 divided by 2 is 7. So this gets us x equals negative 7. Now to check this, you take your the number that x is representing and plug it back into your equation and see if it checks out. So we have negative 2x plus 9 equals 23, but we are saying that x is negative 7. So rewrite that where the x is a negative 7, and then you need to see if you can solve it. And if we did this correctly, this side matches or is equal to this side. They need to be the same. So we have negative 2 times negative 7, which is 14. Plus 9 equals 23. 14 plus 9 is 23. So we are left with 23 equals 23, and that checks out. To do the check process, you need to remember your rules from 6th grade of grouping exponents, multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtraction. So make sure you're following that as you're going through the process of checking. All right, make sure you have this down. You can rewind it and press pause as many times as you need to, and we will be checking your notes on Thursday. All right, have a good night. Bye.